Hello, good evening. Thanks for coming. I appreciate everybody who's here today. I'm Bridget Cheney, the principal of Congress Elementary. Thank you, thank you. The cheers mean that you're happy we're here as a building, but also that the staff and I am here as well because we love to serve the community. This is a community school. Lots of faces that I know out here in the crowd, so that's always a warm and welcoming thing. I promise you I will not hit everybody who's here with a thank you publicly, but I do want to recognize a few people who are here because it just shows how hard we've worked together and how important this effort is to not only the school, but the neighborhoods and community that we serve. So I would like to begin thanking former Mayor John Logie and his wife Susie for attending. Appreciate that. And, oh, yeah. A couple people who have really been with us since the very beginning and honestly, kind of this grassroots effort when we first began, very organically deciding how we can make this happen. Dottie Kloon, thank you so much, wonderful. Johanna Jelks, Mary Beth Jelks, thank you. Our families and staff that's here tonight, thank you very much, because we have Congress families who joined us and Congress staff who's here tonight, so thank you for that. Without you, we couldn't do it, that's for sure. The district support that we have, Ms. Carolyn Evans, who's Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, and Superintendent Teresa Weatherall-Neal could not join us tonight, but her daughter, Denisha Killingham, is here, so thanks for coming and welcoming us tonight. And please, as you enter, feel free to grab some food, by all means. We have lots of partnerships in the neighborhood, and I would be remiss if I didn't name a few of them. Judy Freeman, thank you for partnering with us as far as all the early childhood things that come our way and support really our pipeline to Congress and kindergarten. So we appreciate that. Looking forward to that. Yeah. Potential parents who are out there, come join us any day of the week, anytime school's open. We'd love to show you, first of all, our cute kids, but second of all, the hard work and effort that our kids put forth and the staff as well. So you will meet our panelists a little later. We have a parent that's on our panel, so we'll talk a little bit about that as that comes along. Well, I just wanted to give you a warm Congress welcome. Thank you for being here. Our welcoming table is doing such a great job. And I'm going to pick on you a minute, Wendy and Aaron. Aaron and Wendy Wetzel, parents of our second grader. Oh my goodness, I almost called her a first grader. And they went through the process of searching out the school that would best fit their daughter when she was coming into kindergarten and did really an exhaustive search of what school is best. And I say that because her mom's a former educator. And so she and her daughter and husband have really helped us see what's important as far as what parents are looking for, but also guide us in a direction that leads us to more families coming in, because we don't know if no one tells us, right? I mean, we know what we think is great, but we live this every day. So the very best thing we can do is solicit information from any of you. So if you have any information for us, please feel free to extend that, give it to us. And Elizabeth, there she is. So this is my partner in crime lately. Okay, Elizabeth Hoffman Ransford. She joined this effort as well very early in the beginning and part of the East Hills Council of Neighbors. So I'll let her talk a little bit, but thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for joining in this great effort. I know that we have such great momentum going, and it's not going to stop here, so thank you.
Hi, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for being here on the most beautiful day of the year. Sitting in this gym is a sacrifice indeed, and I definitely want to thank all the teachers for making the time to be here. I really appreciate that. So East Hills Council of Neighbors has been involved with Congress for over 3 years now, and basically it came about because we were looking around and we said, neighborhood, but we are seeing families leave as soon as their kids start to turn 3, 4 years old. And what can we do about that? And Johanna Jelks and Claire Fisher for East Hills Council of Neighbors met with Principal Cheney, and they came back to the council and they said, our principal is amazing. We need to get involved in Congress. And so for over 3 years, we've been working with Bridget, we've been working with neighbors, and I think we have something amazing in the middle of East Hills, and we want to share it with everybody. And I just want to say to people, I think I have an awesome community. I like to walk around, I go to the businesses, I see all my neighbors. We work together, we play together, and I want to work and play with you at Congress. Because if we energies not just into our neighborhood, into our faith communities, but into our school, and they all overlap, and all of them are reinforcing one another, I think we can have an amazing school here. Bridget is doing great work, the kids are doing great work, the teachers are doing great work, and I think all of us should be a part of it. So I want to welcome Jacqueline Edelberg for coming today. Just a brief thing, when I started getting involved in Congress, my mom loaned me a book called How to Walk to School, and I was like, oh, it seems so hard. And then I read the book and I said, we can do that here. It's amazing. So it's kind of a dream to have Jacqueline standing inside Congress School right now talking to all of you.
So here comes it. So you tuck your 4-year-old into bed, right? And you pour yourself a double gin and tonic and congratulate yourself for not killing anybody. And you sit down at your dining room table to open up the letter telling you if your kid has been accepted into kindergarten. In my city, Chicago, did you know that it is statistically easier to get your high school senior into Harvard than it is to get your toddler into a selective enrollment kindergarten? It is. Well, imagine if you didn't have to suck down private school tuition, or imagine if you didn't have to flee to the suburbs and spend the rest of your life eating at an Olive Garden. There aren't enough breadsticks in the world for free that would make me want to move to the suburbs. You know, I would rather eat glass than move to the suburbs. So close your eyes for a second. How many people here, how many people went to public school as a kid for elementary school? Just about everybody. How many people here walked to their neighborhood public school in elementary school? Just about 2/3 of everybody here walked to their neighborhood public elementary school. And look, we all survived into adulthood, miraculously okay. So close your eyes for a second and imagine that elementary school. And picture your desk and see your friends and smell chalk and taste a number 2 chewed eraser pencil. Would you send your kids there if you could? Well, you know, of course you could. Of course you would. We all would. Absolutely. That's what we all had in a gym that smelled pretty much like this and looked and felt just like this, with our neighbors that looked and felt pretty much just like this. But I can hear somebody's like, whoa, stop it. Like, just stop. That time is really gone. So, like, I don't know what you're smoking, Jacqueline, but that is not the world we live in anymore. And I would be happy to send my kids to my neighborhood school if my neighborhood school were not a disaster on stilts. But it is. So I don't know, you know, that's cray-cray talk, because that's not what we have. We were 8 moms in a diner, and we took one of the worst schools in and we turned it into one of the best in 9 months on a budget of nothing. And you guys can too. But I can tell you, right now there's this old thing that says you can tell everything you need to know about a school from the parking lot to the office. I'm not an educator, right? I'm just a mom. But from a decade of doing this, I've been told that, right? And it's true. I can tell you, I've been here for like a half an hour, and I can tell you what's going on here is so rock solid excellent. Bridget has such an amazing school. What they are doing with kids here is so right and so good. So you guys are so far ahead of the game. I mean, I'm standing here and I am looking at kid-centric art, like these robots here. And there's a nice description as well about what it means and how it's embedded in the curriculum. And it's not just art, it's really thoughtful. So good, so excellent. And that continues on everything I've seen. From if you just do this loop-to-loop around, so excellent. So you guys are like a million times ahead of the game as to what we were. So here's our short story. So the short story is, my ex-husband was supposed to do all of the research on schools. And then he came to me and he told me that he was too busy at work and that I was going to have to do all of that. I was like, oh my God, you can't drop that in my lap. Like, that's ridiculous. Like in Chicago, that is a huge, huge project. This is like not easy stuff, right? So my girlfriend in the park and I decided we should check out Nettlehurst, our neighborhood school, and see just how terrible this place was before we panicked or moved out of the neighborhood or whatever. No one we knew had ever been inside. All we knew about it was that it was full of drugs and gangs and violence, and the test scores were in the toilet, they were in the 30s. It was just simply not a place where you would send your kid if you had options. Evidenced by the fact that of the 300 kids who lived in my catchment zone who chose a Chicago public school, not one of them chose Nettlehurst. Not one. So the principal, new principal, Susan Kermit, was a lot like Bridget, showed us around. 3 hours, this gorgeous building, turn-of-the-century building. She said, what do I have to do to get your kids to come to school here? And we said, that is a very interesting question. I don't know. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll let you know. So Nicole and I went home, and we cracked open a bottle of wine, and we stuck our kids in front of Dora the Explorer, and we put together this wish list of all the things that we thought would have to be in place in order to make a neighborhood walk back en masse. And on that list was everything. If I put up a whiteboard right now, let's just fire off all the great things that everybody wants, you know, public, private, you know, whatever it is, let's put it all up here. That list was all of that stuff, you know. And, you know, I'm not an mom. I taught in college. Like, I don't know anything about early childhood, but, you know, I went to school. I have an idea of what I'd want my kids to have. So it was that huge list. We came back the next day with our list, and we said, here, Susan, in truth, you want to make the whole neighborhood come back? Because you're competing against publics and privates and parochials and charters and all that. If you want this neighborhood to come, it's going to look kind of similar to that, like that. And she read our list, and she said, well, let's get going. It's going to be a really busy year. So we organized. We went to the local park, the neighborhood park. I don't know what the park is right near here. It must be a little play lot, right? We went to that park where we were all day anyhow. And we put all of these mommies onto teams. And you'd say to moms, you know, sort of, what did you do before you were nothing? And they'd say, oh, you know, I was the ad exec for Gatorade, and I was a partner at Skadden and Arp, and, you know, all of this stuff. And we thought, well, instead of just talking about what's on sale at the Gap all day, you know, as intriguing as that is, maybe if we put our heads together, so long as we're sitting here all day anyhow, trying to keep our kids breathing, maybe we could figure out how to fix this joint, right? It can't be that hard. Like, who knows? So we had 8 moms. We put them all onto teams. We had infrastructure and PR and curriculum and marketing and enrichment and a special events team and fundraising team. And by our lights, we figured we had 9 months to pull it off. We figured we had 9 months because we just backed out of when everybody was going to sit down at their dining room table with that letter. And we knew that if we didn't have the school fixed in time, people were going to open the letter and they'd say, well, you know, that's that. Now we got to go. So we knew when that letter came, Nettlehurst had to be in that pile of, well, I guess we could go to Nettlehurst. You know, wasn't our top choice, but okay, we could make a go of it. So we figured we had 9 months. After 9 months of work, we had our first open house for the neighborhood. And 300 families came, and 78 kids signed up for preschool that day. And we thought, we pulled this off. Now, the school promptly lost half the applications the next day, but still, we knew we had done something really, really great. So let me just give you a quick overview of what the school looked like, just so you have an idea of where we were. So Susan Kurland inherited this school. Before Susan got there, there had been 10 different administrators in a decade. Okay? They basically just ran out of town anybody who tried to make change. And right before Susan got there, they had hired 2 principals to get the school under control. So Susan got there and she rode the buses. It was entirely bussed in from overcrowded schools, not to satisfy any racial mandate. It's just that the neighborhood refused to go to school there. So the district, in their wisdom, culled kids from outside the district to come. Otherwise, they'd have to shut the school down. So it was supposed to be a neighborhood school. It's just that the neighborhood refused to come. So the first thing Susan did was she got discipline under control. She cleaned it up. She made it work. And I think, in truth, most people, if they had walked into that school the way we did, would have said it is a perfectly fine place to send your kid. There's learning going on. There's some good teachers. There's some bad teachers. It is what it is. And yet, even with sort of like the raw ingredients there that made it like a reasonable choice, still no one I know would have chosen it simply because there just wasn't enough right in place to make people who had options choose it. So Susan moved the school as far as she could under her power, and she had done a very, very, very good job. So we had all of these moms in. So I'm going to walk you through sort of what each team did a little bit, and okay. So the first team was the infrastructure team. We knew from the get-go we had to gussy up and fast. Nettlehurst is a beautiful building, turn of the century, gorgeous red brick building. And in Chicago, these gorgeous buildings are literally a walk that a child could do within a mile. Chicago is divided up into a grid, and there is a beautiful building on almost every mile thing, right? And almost every urban area in Chicago, in the country, is based on that model, right? They're all divided up into these little grids so kids can walk to school like normal people. But as beautiful as this building was, it kind of looked like Bleak House. Everything about it told you to stay away. So the first thing we did was we took Susan on a walk around the building to see how a prospective parent would view her building from the outside. So we took her to the play lot, which she didn't know existed, and she was like, where did all these kids come from? Who knew the neighborhood was full of kids? Yeah, it is, right? And we took her on the walk. And as soon as you got up to Nettlehurst, everything in the building telegraphed that you should stay away, and it wasn't even clear that it was a school at all. All of the shades on the ground floor were drawn. There was no sign. All of the doors were gray. They were all locked. It was not clear how anyone would enter. It was really it was tragic, like really genuinely tragic. So the first thing we did was all the things that were really cheap and easy, like open the shades, turn the lights on. We painted every single outside door. And we had in the first year of this movement over $2 million of donated goods and services. So what we did is we'd go to our local paint stores, and they donated paint, and then we'd call up painters, and we'd say, hi, Jim at Sherwin-Williams said that you might be willing to help us. We have all the paint donated. If you could just do one classroom, just one. And we'll show up whenever you want. You can do it at night, you can do it on weekends, like we don't care. Just one classroom or one hallway, just one. And we'd show up with donuts and we'd cheerlead and we would be all sprightly and charming. And literally we knocked off every single classroom and every single hallway. Then we went to artists in our fabulous neighborhood. I live in Boys Town, so I live in a very creative, excellent neighborhood. And we'd say, you can paint anything, I don't care. They said no parameters. There are no parameters at all. I said, well, okay, so here's the thing. You can't make it scary. Don't make it phallic. Don't paint the face of Jesus. Other than that, do whatever you want. I don't care. It's ugly, it's horrible. Fix it. Do something. So Susan would say, just show me a picture. If she liked their aesthetic, if she saw their book and she liked their vibe, that's good enough. And the truth was, anything they did would be better than the crap that they'd walked into, so fine. And we painted over everything. I mean, everything in sight. And I could talk to you from now until the end of time about how gorgeous the school is, but it'll be easier at the end. I'm just going to show you a little video thing so that you can get an idea of what we did. But every school in America should be delicious and wonderful, and we put more energy and thought into, and I don't mean this in a snarky way, into decorating hospital rooms for sick children than we do thinking about what well children need, you know? Like in this lovely room, somebody's brilliant plan in the 70s was to board up these gorgeous windows. Like, what was somebody thinking? Like, maybe it was an energy thing, or they said, oh, the balls, or maybe they broke and there wasn't money or something. Crazy, right? But literally, if all of us got together and said, you know what? By next week, we should put clouds there and, you know, make those into skies until we get the funds together or somebody to, like, swap them out for windows. Then we'd have a blue sky, a faux blue sky, but it could be a blue sky literally in a couple hours for free. So paint's easy and cheap, really fabulous. Let's see. The next team that I want to talk to you about is turning the school into the heart of a community. The support team, we knew we had to, we can't do this kind of work by ourselves, right? So we made friends really, really fast. So we made friends with our politicians. That was our first move, was to walk in. And I remember meeting the alderman for the first time. He said, oh, you don't want to send your kids there. That's not a good idea. I was like, but it's in your ward. He said, yeah, you know, we've been trying to fix it for years. It's really unfixable. If politicians knew how to fix schools, they would be fixed. They don't. And that's okay, but they can help you if you tell them exactly what you need. If you just walk into your politician's office and start shrieking at them to fix it, they'll be like, I can't do that. But if you said to them, we are gunning for this grant, or we need a moving truck tomorrow, no questions asked, I need a moving truck to pick up a piano and, you know, 15 other things around the city. Your alderman, I don't know how it works here, whether it's alderman or committeeman or whatever, they can get on the phone and make things happen for you. And that's their job, and they're happy to do it. Politicians need schools to be successful. They want to have successful schools. Your job for your politicians is to give them stuff that they need. They need opportunities to be there reading to kids. They need artwork in their windows. They need it to be a partnership. And if you can make that with your politicians, that's awesome. We made friends with our Chamber of Commerce. Usually schools, when they're asking the chamber to help them, just say, give us money. Local businesses don't particularly want to give schools cash, and they don't want to be shaken down. They don't need that. However, they can do lots of great stuff for you. They can give you product and services that are just sort of languishing on the shelves. They can rename product. We had every single name a Nettlehurst flavor. It was just on the board. There's a bar down, not a bar, a brewery, right? Some awesome woman I heard, right? I don't know who that is, but like there's this awesome brewery here. There should be a beer. There should be the Congress beer. Like, absolutely, tomorrow. Put it on a label, sell it. You know, simple stuff. But the idea is, how do you make the business owners that are here believe that this is their school, that this is their community that they're supporting, and that they're your partners in this work? We started a farmer's market. I know there's a very nice farmer's market a few blocks away, I heard, but you've got this amazing lot. And that thing can be a community garden. I mean, it already is one, from what I understand, but you can blow that up really, really big too. But we started a farmer's market, and with Benzedon USA, they run 600 markets in Paris. We were their first Chicago market. And we started this farmer's market, one, because it's nice to have a farmer's market, but also because we needed people to come. We needed them to understand there was a school there, and this was the heart of the community. And we thought if we could create a town square, that would be great. It's another thing, by the way, we did with the Chamber, too. All of the community events that the Chamber was doing other places, we said, no, we want them to take place at Nettlehurst. So Halloween hooplas and little bunny egg hunts and whatever it was, all of that great stuff at the school. It's either going to be in the play lot, in the parking lot, in the auditorium, but all of that good energy, whether people have kids or not, great. The most important thing, though, that we did was we became a community school. This was a brand new thing. Essentially, the enrichment team of moms had a real pickle. How do you bring arts and culture and sports and stuff like that into a school when you don't have any resources and you know none are ever coming? So what we did is we went around to all the people who were delivering services that our kids were already using. Theater, art, music, dance, whatever it was. We said, look, you can partner with us, charge your normal rates, stay here rent-free, electricity-free, marketing-free. All we asked in exchange were two things. They had to offer scholarships, which everybody did anyhow, because they're decent people, and then they had to contribute to the regular curriculum day, some nominal amount. So instead of throwing 700 kids out into the universe every day after school, which is totally bananas, just invite 50 different instructors into the school. And we partnered with Whole House, which was a not-for-profit community center. He said, run it. We created this fee-for-service community school, which was brand new, and now it's an RFP. But becoming a community school was really, really important, partly because it brought those people into the fold, right? Like real after-school stuff. But the other thing that was really great about it is it gave community members a way to teach, even if they didn't have a hut. So if you taught jewelry, if you wanted to teach jewelry to kids, here was a place where you could do it. You could charge or not charge or whatever, but you came in with their insurance and all the rest of it. Essentially, what we were trying to do was capitalize on the expertise and love and care and commitment and involvement that normal community members have. People want to help. They want to. It's just nobody ever goes out and asks them to come in. So it was a huge thing to become a community school. In terms of the academic team, Stephanie Schroet, I think, is how the book got into the hands of this gang, and Stephanie was on our education team, the curriculum team. So the curriculum team wanted all kinds of great stuff. Really great. Like, we wanted a gifted program, and we wanted all of this stuff, and we thought all of those things would be key to bringing in the middle class, right? Got to have all. And Susan, no, like, over my dead body, that's not going to happen. What are you talking about? Well, she thought it was pedagogically unsound to divide kids up into the red Jays and the blue Jays. She's like, we do differentiated instruction here. Everybody is going to get smart, and they're all going to get smart on my watch, and you're just going to have to trust me. No, I'm not putting video cameras in the preschools. My teachers don't want video cameras, and that gives you a goofy view of what your kid's doing all day anyhow. You're just going to have to trust me that I'm not putting your kids in a veal hut all day long, right? So there's going to have to be an understanding that I will get your kids out of here, and they're still going to go to Harvard and Princeton and Yale, or wherever they were going to go. They're just going to have a way more interesting ride along the way. that said, there was some real crazy going on, right? We had one teacher who had a restraining order against her for hitting students in a classroom. We had some teachers who muttered obscenities as they walked down the hallways. You know, like it's a union school, and I gotta tell you, there was a lot of bananas. And I can say this now because Jeffrey Canada has given me the freedom to say this. It's not in the book. We weren't even allowed to use the term. But, you know, there's some subpar teaching going on. And any of us, any normal person who would have seen some of the shenanigans that we encountered, it would have made your skin crawl, and it would make you go home and like drink heavily till the morning and sort of say how adults could let that situation fester is unconscionable, truly unconscionable. So that's a very puzzling thing, right? But Susan said, look, you know, the teachers are either going to move out, they're going to rise to the occasion, and then the great teaching will show itself. So that's what's going to happen. The curriculum team asked for one thing. So we couldn't get all the stuff we wanted. They said, we want one thing. We want to guarantee that we can have a parent in the classroom every day. And Susan said, sure. Now, we were too green to know that that's unheard of. In any, you know, public-private program, never happens. What that did was really interesting. We were 8 moms. It's not like we had a mom for every classroom for every minute of the day. It never happened anyhow. But it did mean we were popping in all the time. People were popping in. We had people from universities popping in. There was a lot of pop-in. Within 2 years of our movement, every single subpar teacher jumped ship voluntarily on their own. It was really remarkable. Imagine if your parenting were on display for a pop-in from, you know, DHS at any moment. I can guarantee you I would be a parent, you know. I'm an okay parent, but man, if you want that kind of like possibility, my parenting would change a little bit. And most of the great parenting would still be there, but otherwise I would just, you know. So that was the education piece. And I can tell you, both my kids, my oldest daughter is now a sophomore at the enrollment in high school, and my son is in 8th grade. And Susan, by God, she delivered. She did. She promised, if we would just get on this rickety boat with her, she promised that she would get our kids through. And I would put my kids' education on par with any private school in this country. It is that good. Even though the science teacher is totally lame and my daughter has no idea of the periodic table and got to high school and was like, oh my God. Even with that, my kids came out with this sense of confidence and a love of learning and this thought that they could, you know, just hit the ground running. And maybe I am crazy, but that's all I want. Like truly, if my kids can just get through elementary school, like knowing how to read and write and put a thought together with their integrity intact and their soul intact, like then I've done my job. And we just wanted them to raise like joyful, happy, lovely children, and she delivered that in spades. In terms of the PR and marketing team, there are ways. Nettlehurst suffered from some real problems and some perceptual problems. Real problems are actually incredibly easy to fix. You don't think they are, but they are. They're really, really simple. Perceptual problems took 70% of our efforts. So imagine, right, here we are. Imagine if somebody said, we have to fix this gym by like, what day is today? Thursday? Monday, this gym has to be fixed. It's an auditorium and gym. All right, so we have two things. We've got to have a stage and a full gym built by Monday. I can guarantee you, everybody here with an iPhone, we would have this done. This could be done. Convincing everybody that we had done it and it was still okay to come here and see a show and play dodgeball, which I understand now they don't play anymore, but that would be a hat trick. That would not be easy. You could have a climbing wall and it'd still be a hard sell. right? Because community perceptions are deeply, deeply entrenched. They're entrenched for good reasons, bad reasons, true reasons, false reasons. We all come to this equation with all kinds of baggage. Some of it well-earned, some of it not, whatever. So we had a real pickle, right? So the marketing team, did you know that you can rebrand and reposition a failing public Chicago school as easy as cereal? Well, you can. Who knew? But the good news is instead of pushing, Twinkies on people and telling them that they're like nutritious, you're actually selling a product that's really good. So in some ways it's easier, but it does take some work. So we did a lot of stuff. The first thing we did was toss out anything that Chicago Public Schools had ever made in terms of marketing. Because all of those things basically were like handing people a contract to say, please never send your kid to this school. Like just the most dreadful, horrible, direct marketing campaigns you've ever seen in your life with a lot of clip art. I mean, horrible, horrible stuff. We were really, really strategic about our marketing plan. We looked at the kind of people we thought were leading the movement, the tastemakers in my neighborhood. We knew we were never going to get them anyhow, but we did know that they signaled to all the people in the park what was reasonable. So in my neighborhood, that was Land of Nod. So that was the color scheme we came up with. And everything we did was very, very strategic in terms of down to font, color size, what we put in the windows, all of it. We monitored the websites and the blogs and the chatter in a way that would make people think like, wow, you have like you must not be working or something. And we had a motto. We said we do more during nap time than most people do all day. And you have to monitor that stuff, and you have to tell your story. And we made friends with the press, and we gave the press handoff ready stories. Done. This is not deep investigative journalism. But at every news show, there is the closer of a happy kid doing something, and that might as well be the kids here doing something lovely. But you have to feed that to them. So now, when they need a public school story, they'll just show up with cameras. We had every kid sign a release, every family. You can show up with a camera anytime, do whatever you want, whatever story you want. We're happy to. But this is not. You have to deliver that story. And if you are not creating your own narrative and your own story, then someone is going to provide that for you. And you have to be the makers of that story. And you've got a lot of really great material here, that's just amazing. But you got to spin it and sell it. And then eventually, the thing that was so crazy is eventually the lie became reality. We actually lived up to our own ridiculous hype. We didn't set out to. We just needed good enough. We need tolerable. We needed a option. But so many different creative minds coming together, it actually wound up being more than the sum of its parts, and we never could have predicted that. And so eventually, bullshit became true. It was like, wow, that's amazing. So we sold it as something really amazing. And the thought was, it was when we fail, when the reality comes through, it's going to be just great, and then it'll get better. So we made friends with our realtors, and we branded this idea of the Golden Nettlehurst District, which was like such a joke, because it was the reason why no one was moving into the neighborhood. And we thought, well, if we just take that same concept and kind of spin it and say, like, if you move into the neighborhood, then you get to go to Nettlehurst, that would be a hat trick, right? And that's what we did. And we said, wow, if you live in the neighborhood, you could go to school, you'd have guaranteed admission at this amazing school. And we partnered with realtors, and we took one side of the postcard. We designed the whole thing with a graphic designer. Who was the graphic designer I just met? I just met a person here who was a graphic designer. Somebody. I did. Anyhow, so we said to realtors, you take one side of the postcard. So Brad took one side. He said, I'll help you find a a house in the Boys Town neighborhood. Like, I'm the realtor for that. And then on the other side, we made the Halloween hoopla from the Chamber of Commerce. And then, yes, and it took place at the Nettlehurst front play lot. So now it was really a chamber postcard that we had made about the school that was being financed by a realtor. And then, because it wasn't our postcards, we brought them to the private schools. Because it was for the neighborhood event, and we had them give them out to all their students, which they did, which was marketing. Brought them to the grocery stores, and the grocery stores would put them in every single bag. We brought them to the dry cleaners, and they clipped them on every single thing going home. But it wasn't for Nettlehurst per se, it was for the Nettlehurst Halloween hoopla. And we insisted that all the events that we did with the chamber started with Nettlehurst. So even our farmers market was the Nettlehurst French Market. And because we contracted it out to the community, the Chamber of Commerce, we weren't broadcasting our own school, we were broadcasting a neighborhood event, and it all worked out splendidly. So we were quite creative about it. The fundraising team. We had a fundraising team on it, and we disbanded our fundraising team in 6 weeks. We realized in very short order that nobody wants to give money to a failing Chicago public school. And who could blame them? And the moms in the park didn't want to be shaken down either, because they were already investing so much sweat equity in the first place. The idea that they were going to pay for this ridiculous thing was like not going to happen either. So everything that we had, oh, baby, everything that we had in terms of donations was all service. It was either service or paint or goods. None of it was cash forever. Then 4 years in, we got that, men started, I shouldn't say that, that's not nice, but, like people who knew what they were doing got involved. And Ted, one of our dads, we call him Sexy Ted, figured out how this fundraising racket works. And because he would say, wait a minute, you girls are going out and just getting paid by gallons at a time. Like, surely there's a better system than that. We're like, well, this has been working really well for us. We're going to figure it out. So he figured it all out. Here's the thing. You have to create deep, mutually beneficial partnerships. That's the key to all of it. So what Ted did is, instead of us doing these, what we did is sort of like these one-hit things. He called it like drive-by give back, which was just insane. So like, I'd say, oh, did you need your shoes? Because I was going to make this glitter tree shoes, and it's going to be really nice. I'm going to cover them with glitter, and it's mosaic, and it's actually mirrors, and then I'm going to put it up on this tree, and it's going to be a glitter tree. It's going to be really awesome. And you'd be like, take my shoes. Just take the shoes. Just stop talking and leave me alone. And don't come back in my store again. And that worked really, really well for us. But we'd have to go through lots and lots of people with that strategy. What Ted did is they created 10 handoff-ready proposals for nutrition, for wellness, for science, for whatever it was. 20-page beautiful things, and they showed up. They would say, you're interested in wellness? Well, that's fantastic. We have a handoff-ready proposal. Fund this. So we partnered with the Blackhawks. We partnered with US Cellular. We did all kinds of great partnerships. And so that was pretty cool. So somebody one of the problems, though, with that is that somebody might come to my school now and look at our community kitchen. We have a teaching kitchen. And Nate Burkus, bless his darling, gorgeous self. This is, if you haven't breastfed for years, you might not know that Nate Burkus is Oprah's designer. But so Nate came into our school and he was like, yes, let me make I'll redo your kitchen for you. So somebody might come into my school now and look at the gorgeous kitchen that Nate has made for us, with the stainless steel appliances and the subway tiles and all the rest of it, and think, well, this is beautiful, Money made the Nettlehurst happen. This is what money looks like. The kitchen that it replaced, the one that we made out of dumpsters from secondhand stuff and window displays from everybody, that kitchen, first of all, I think was truthfully a little cuter, but it served the exact same function. It was the same thing. We wanted a clubhouse. We wanted parents to be able to drop their kids and then be able to sit down and have coffee and powwow and figure it out and hang. And we needed that. And we wanted to teach kids how to cook. And we wanted to be able to have this, we wanted it to feel like home. We wanted to bridge the homeschool connection. So the kitchen that it replaced did the same thing. And money didn't power our revolution. People powered our revolution. And money was just something that came later when people figured that out. And although Ted would bash me over the head for saying it, money is actually the least important part of the equation. Schools, in many ways, don't even need money. I can tell you right now, from what I've seen, you could take any one of these teachers, give them a roll of Reynolds wrap, and tell them that that's what they had all day, and I can tell you those kids would have had a bang-up, excellent day and would have learned tons of stuff, and everybody would have had a great, great time, and it all would have worked, because if you've got great teaching and a visionary principal and committed parents, you can do amazing, wonderful, great stuff with very little. So that's the fundraising team. So the last thing I want to talk about is that we get this criticism that this isn't replicable, you know? Like, oh, what a boutique example, right? So there are two criticisms that we've gotten since the book came out. Is all bullet-ridden from the first round of criticism. And it's an argument about gentrification that says kind of if you get enough rich white people together in a neighborhood, you are bound to have a successful school. So here's Boys Town, you've got middle-class neighborhoods, solid housing stock, you get these white yuppie moms in with their Scandinavian toys and their lattes and all of the bugaboo strollers and whatnot. Of course you're going to have a great school because that's what happens when enough of those people show up. That's not true, and it's not true for a lot of reasons. First of all, everybody's scores improved. We didn't displace anybody. Every single one of those kids from an overcrowded school stayed at that school through 8th grade. We started with 10 kids, that became 20, that became 30. But in the first 2 years, when we only had 20 kids, everybody's scores improved. In fact, they all tripled. You know why? Because care reads as care. And any parent, any grown-up will fit the bill. And a rising tide really does raise all boats. And when the middle class came back, when there was just this shift that said, we're all in it for you guys, and when everybody was in a way like loved, when everybody got loved, it all got better, and it all got better for everybody. I'll give you a statistic. In 3rd grade, when those kids were tested for the first time, those 3rd graders from the neighborhood, when they were tested for the first time, scored 91%, 100% for reading and 91% for math. You'd have to go out to Winnetka to get like higher test scores. I think those were the numbers. But the kids from an overcrowded school, those 8th graders that same year, every single one of them, low and free and reduced lunch, every single one of those kids scored high enough to get into a selective enrollment school in Chicago. And I think that's amazing. I think that's extraordinary. And I live in the neighborhood I live because I like the diversity. I love living in my city, and that's why I chose public school. That's why I went to public school. And I've had all kinds of stuff. I've had public, I've had private, I've had parochial, I've had weird university rat experiments. And if I can have my kid in a vibrant public school that is diverse and with all kinds of people and the way the world looks, that's exactly what I want. So I really wasn't 100% prepared for that one, but no, this is not the inevitable byproduct of gentrification. And I'll go so far as to even say this: you look across this country, and there is a great school on one corner. You go 4 blocks away, and there's another school that's a disaster on stilts. Same housing stock, same people, same everything, and the answer is why? Why would that be? Well, it's usually 2 reasons. 1, the neighborhood hasn't bought in, or 2, the principal is a disaster, and usually it's both. So it doesn't just happen, and it doesn't just happen like pop rocks. It's not inevitable. It takes work, but it's also remarkably easy. So the second argument, and this like is all bullet-ridden from that argument. I was at a very fancy thing with some filled with like really super people, all very accomplished, right? And this woman stood up, and she said, miss, your school sounds great, and you mommies sound great, and that's all great, 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 great. But until this project is brought to scale, it really isn't germane to the public policy debate on education. And all I could stammer in this room full of experts was, really? I thought mommies had already gone to scale. I thought we'd scaled that problem already. I'm looking at the moms in this room with babies and kids and toddlers, and forgive me, but we were a group of moms for the most part. The idea that women cannot affect change is, it just makes me furious. And the idea that parents can't create change makes me more furious. We are the ones who have the most to gain from this. And I'm not talking about turning around the whole great big educational garbage barge. Like that's a big project, and I guess I'm kind of glad people are working on it. I can't speak to that. I really can't. And you can have your fights about charters and vouchers, and just fight about it and scream about it from now until the end of time. I don't have time for that. And you talk to any one of these mommies who has a 3-year-old, and the people in the kids' room, and the 4 moms who leave with their kids because their kids were getting fussy. These people, we don't have time for that. There just isn't time. The people who need a school to work need it now, like right now. They needed it yesterday. And everybody in this room could make that happen seriously in a minute and a half. In a minute and a half for everybody here. And what we couldn't have predicted is that we knew us, right? But we couldn't have predicted that there were so many people behind us who wanted it just as badly as we did and were willing to work for it. We didn't know that, So the education team, I was the only idiot in the pond who invested with my own kid from the education team. Because they just saw too much, they knew too much, like we couldn't snow their husbands, But I couldn't have anticipated that there'd be all these other people who would just show up. We just had to open the door. And they all came. They did. They all came. And so that would be my hope for Congress and every other elementary school that's doing such amazing, good, wonderful stuff. It's like if we all hold hands together, if we just hold hands together and say, we can make this work. We can. This is not rocket scientists. We're not building a reactor. This is elementary school. This is not impossible. We can do this. This is all doable. This is all doable stuff. But it does take starting and pushing and jumping and holding hands and making it work. So my hope and dream is that people walk into their neighborhood school and meet the principal and just say, hi, we're here to help. What do you need? And we'll make it work. So let me show you what we made. And maybe I can't. I'll try. Uh-oh. Oh, he was like, wow, she said she was going to talk, but didn't expect her to talk that much. So the way we did the infrastructure part that I'm going to show you is every single thing that you're going to see is donated. If it had one scrap of color on it, we did it. So it's this. Can we hit the lights? Are there lights to hit? Can we do that? So that's my daughter Maya. Ed, he is sexy. I know. So this is the dot guy, and he helped us do the front doors. So those are the front doors. We made this mosaic over the top. So I told you we hijacked PR. So for Principal for a Day, when the city did that, we always brought in these other people. Here's our farmers market. There's Maya and Zach at their lemonade stand. We had a free reading hour for the neighborhood that the bookstore did, and that was every single week. Here was our little bunny egg hunt. Here's a sculpture that we made on the corner with Terry Karpowitz. There is Susan, our principal, and Susan and Arnie. Right now the school has textbook diversity. It's exactly what you'd want to see. So we painted all of the doors. There are side doors. More doors. This is my glitter tree, which is made out of recycled bicycle parts. That's my son, Zach. And we made 2 playgrounds. But before that, we just painted the walls and decorated the telephone poles. And you can turn a brick wall into a blue sky in pretty short order. There are the back doors to the play lot. We have a lot of recycled art. We went to all the design guys, and when they were done with displays for in windows, we just took it. There's Zach at Chess Wizards after school. And the teachers just layer artwork over whatever we've done, so it's not a static stage set. This is the community center wing, and goes Earth, Sky, Space. So this is outside of the play lot. So that's like a floor-to-ceiling mural. So we're a site for the Chicago Marathon now. We're a water station, and I live in Boys Town, so my water station is naturally the most festive and fabulous of all of the water stations. Here's our gym, and I said we had created this partnership with the Blackhawks, so we built a fitness room, and we started the city's first inaugural hockey league. We made a dance room. It's a fine and performing arts school, so all the kids have dance. This is the hangout space, our World Music Cafe. We have 2 really amazing WPA murals that were in the school before we got there. This is horses throughout literature, children's literature. And then this is a famous WPA mural that's a cubist mural. But we made a seating area across from the mural so that parents would have a place to sit down. We hung globes in the main hallway. This was just a scary passageway on the way to lunch where we turned it into Atlantis. The littlest kids all swim to lunch. It's very cute. This is a banking center. All of the kids have their own accounts, and we learn about checking and credit and Enron and Fannie and Freddie. This is the lunchroom. We turned it into Bistro Louis. The group of organic moms had us turned into a healthy choice pilot school, and we had a salad bar, one of the city's only salad bars. We did all of the bathrooms. Going to the bathroom is a very big part of a kid's day. So this is the Earth floor of the community center side. So it goes Earth, Sky, Space. So this is Earth. So we just painted over everything. So we painted over the walls, over the lockers, over the floors, over the ceilings. We just blew out the whole thing. This is the space floor. So here we are painting the Africa hallway, and it all has now music quality artifacts. And this is the India wings you're seeing here are actually really 20 feet tall. There's so many songs about rainbows, and it's on the other side. So this is going up into the Latin American hallway. This was by Yolo Kali. They gave us a whole summer to paint these murals with the kids. What's so amazing that it keeps us stargazing, and what do they think we might see? So for the past few years, this is our pop-up Funkadelic first grade space for first and second graders. The E was stolen from the window at Escada. Rahm Emanuel, who's now the mayor of Chicago, actually launched his campaign from Nettlehurst, and his very first act of Congress was to come back and open an open house. This is the sky floor. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one in the sun. God bless. So for the last 5 years, we've been doing this ribbon project. And 4 years ago, we put them in the Order of Gay Pride. And we became the first school to walk in Chicago. We even had the Lunatic Phelps clan out from Kansas protesting. And if you've never met those boys, that was a real treat. So we actually led the parade under death threat. And it was a really galvanizing principle for our school. And it was nice to, I think, kind of be on the right side of history for that one. So that's
What a great presentation, right? Look at all those cool things, especially the artwork. Oh, I love it. What I would like to encourage you to do now, because I know we've been seated for nearly an hour, is if you'd like to stretch, please do so while we're setting up the stage for our discussion panel. But the other thing what I would like you to do is I'd like you to bear with me for a minute while I say, first of all, if you are a Congress staff member, please stand up. I have to tell you, no, keep standing. I have to tell you that they make my job so much easier, because when you have a committed staff who all hold the same vision and mission and who all love every child and family member that comes to this school, it makes my job as a principal much, much easier. Not only does it make my job easier, but it makes the environment here at Congress very, very family-centered, family-oriented, and it's just a great, caring, lovable place to be. Wouldn't you agree? I just think. So I know I couldn't do it without these wonderful people. Each and every one not only brightens every child's life, but mine as well. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, but also I know that the kids and parents here that I'm going to ask to stand up in a second would love to say thank you as well. So please stay standing while they stand. If you are a child who has come through Congress, because I know, Jennifer, you did, but you're not here any longer because she's graduated us. If you are a child who comes to Congress right now currently, or a parent, any of you, please stand up. Stand up, don't be embarrassed. I see lots of parents here. It is our joy and pleasure to educate your children and you who are students each and every day. And not only is it our joy and pleasure, we couldn't do it without you, because without any students, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for trusting us with your child every single day, and for loving us as much as we love you, because committed parents mean everything. So thank you to you, and I know you appreciate the teachers and staff as much as I do. So you may be seated. And as we are sitting up here, we have 2 microphones. So if you have questions or discussion topics that you want to raise, just know that we'll have to pass the mics back and forth to one another. But the panelists that we have here with us tonight, John O'Closter, his son Jude is in kindergarten, his wife Emily, and they made the choice, the very conscious choice, to send Jude here to Congress this year after kind of being the guinea pigs, he'll tell you, of the neighborhood, right? Saying, okay, but we are going to commit to Congress, and we'd like to be a change agent. So Jackie will also be on the panel, and Dustin Dwyer, where'd you go, Dustin? Fulton Heights resident and Michigan Public Radio reporter. He spent some time with us in the 3rd grade last year. He'll tell you a little about that as well. And he became part of our family as well, even though his children do not attend Congress yet. He's very much part of the fabric of Congress, for sure. And Elizabeth Hoffman Ransford, she'll be up here. So, yes, part of East Hills Council of Neighbors. I'll be up on stage as well. And what we would love to invite you to do is think about some questions that you would like answered. You can ask them of the whole group. You can ask them of one specific person. And we will keep the topics flowing as well if nobody's brave enough first to raise their hand. Teachers and staff members or parents, if you have something to add, please, by all means, stand and let your voice be heard, because this is not about us imparting knowledge or our views and thoughts on you, but more just an open dialogue about what we have here, what we hope to continue, and the momentum that we're building continuously. So I thank you all for being here tonight, and we'll get the discussion started.
It's on. Thing off mic then. I feel so far away from you all right now over this table. I just want to say thank you to Jacqueline for sharing your story of Nettlehurst. It's exciting to see the building, because I think we have a wonderful building here, but you really added a lot to your school. But I just want to kind of open the conversation in this way, saying you described where Nettlehurst was at, you know, when you walked in the door, and it feels like we're so much farther than that right now, so it's really exciting. Dustin, can you talk a little bit about your time here when you hung out with the 3rd graders and what you came expecting and what you left?
Yes. Okay. So I work on a project at Michigan Radio. It's called State of Opportunity. We get one of the great things about this project is we get to do a longer-term reporting project. And what I knew I wanted to do was to spend as long as possible in one elementary school. My idea was to start from the first day of school until they took their state test. And my idea was to find a school that had test scores that were lower than some of the other schools in the area. And Congress was a perfect place that I wanted to look at, because it's not like the test scores aren't terrible, but you see it in neighborhoods where people, where I live in Fulton Heights, will sell their house, they will move out of the neighborhood rather than send their kid to Congress. And I honestly came in because I thought I was going to do a story about sort of a struggling school and what it was going to take to get that school like where it needed to be. And really almost from the first day I was here, it was very clear that it wasn't a struggling school, that even if I would hear my neighbors in Fulton Heights say about the school, like it was a totally different conversation once you got in the building. Parents loved the school, teachers liked working here. Bridget seemed to know what the heck was going on. She knew all of her parents. I mean, yeah. And so actually, Jacqueline, when I was hearing you talk, I was thinking, like, if you're a parent considering coming to Congress, it is probably important to talk about where you are in the chronology of like what you guys did in Chicago, because I think if you come in with the idea, I'm going to send my kid here and we're going to fix it and turn it around, I mean, you're going to, you know, there's parents who've already been here who are going to say, this is already a good school, so stop, you know, screwing it up for us. So maybe I'll pass it on to John, because you just started here this year. So what have you expected and what have you found?
Yeah, so thanks, Dustin. So what I would say is we went through, my wife and I went through a long process of evaluating for our kids. So we have 3 kids. First one, Jude, is in kindergarten here this year. And so we went through a process of, you know, what school are we going to go to? We don't know. Let's just send them to a church for preschool. So that was great. Pushed off the decision. Gave us a couple more years. There's Jude right there. He's very shy. So we looked at a lot of different options. I'll say Congress was one of them. It wasn't a strong possibility to start. We knew it was our neighborhood school. We knew that GRPS had other options, other good options, and we also knew that there were private schools that were options for us as well. So we looked at all of those. And like I said, there were good options. So what we decided, you know, there are important things to us. And one of the most important things to us is investing in our community. And so we couldn't live with ourselves choosing another option, at least not visiting Congress. Okay, so we came. And we talked to Bridget, and she showed us around, and we met the teachers. And we found out through Bridget and through other avenues that there were already, like Dustin said, there are people here. This is not an uphill battle. There are people investing in this school and blazing the trail that we, you know, originally had envisioned. We're going to be on the forefront of this. We're not. We're catching up with the people who are already here. So I'll echo their sentiments of your talk, Jacqueline, that you had a much harder battle than I'm going to have, than we're going to have with our kids here. And we're not going to have a battle at all. I mean, we're just contributing to the good things that are already happening here. And it can happen anywhere, but I'm pleased that we're in a neighborhood that we like, that we live in, that we invest in, and that we have the opportunity to invest in our school as well.
70% of your work was perception. Yeah, getting the news out to Fulton Heights certainly is left to be done.
Right. So,
although Wendy lives in Fulton Heights.
So that's the thing that's like really funny about neighborhood perceptions. Like, this school's great, like great already. So then it's this question of, okay, so then what gives, right? So you're right. You know, I mean, from what I can see, and I've been here all of like 20 seconds, so I'm not really an authority, except it sure looks like all the ingredients are right here, you know, and you're not dealing with a lot of the garbage we had to deal with. So then it becomes, well, now you're fighting kind of weird battles. Like, the battles actually aren't here; the battles are out there. And so how are you gonna do that one? And there's actually a strategy for how to do that too. You know, I'm certainly not saying that we're a one-size-fits-all model. You know, it's a blueprint. Take what works, lose what doesn't, if it's applicable, whatever it is. Every neighborhood's different, every community is different. But you are absolutely right, the raw materials are totally here. And it's so funny because you guys are so similar to Susan and I. It's really, you know, that same thing. You know, there's a lot of really good stuff that's happening.
One of the things I want to chime in on, Dustin and I have actually had lots and lots of conversations around this very same thing. And if you've heard me speak before on this very topic, you know, I get very passionate, so I'll try to hold myself together. But perception and reality are two very different things. And what we found here at Congress is perception and reality when we first began 5 years ago, very much matched. You know, this was a school that was on the rougher side. Not always the safest environment, behaviorally, academically, and test scores, not great, okay? First thing you have to do is you have to recognize that, you have to own it, and admit it. I mean, everybody else can see it, right? So don't keep pretending like everything's okay. It's not. So what are we going to do about it, right? And that's where we began as a staff was, okay, how do we address some of these things? And also, how do we not hide from them, right? Because if you're hiding from them, nothing's ever going to change or be fixed. So as we moved along in our progress, test scores, safe environment, all of that, then the frustration became, okay, now perception and reality do not match one another any longer. But nobody knows that because they're still stuck in of 3 years ago, you know, and so really that's been a lot of our mission as a staff, but also parents and just community members, is to say, please come in our doors. Please come here when the students and teachers are doing what they do all day, every day, because we want you to see that. We want you to see the energy of the building. And so much of our conversations would land around, okay, when's the tipping point? When is it that perception and reality match again or meet up together again? Because it did at one time, it was just the negative, right? So now how do we get this positive to actually the reality is today? So we're much closer than we were, and every day we get even closer. And I guess as we talk about the things that that everybody has to offer, it's just that. Our ears are always open. You know, our minds are open to change, transformation, flexibility. We have lots of things that we've added here because people have just come to us and said, here's what we need. Or, hey, what do you think about that? You know, we're not a yes all the time school, but we're more yes than we are no. We just have to know, right? We do things out of habit or what we've known has worked before. But as we've come along down this road and been on this journey, we realized, oh, some of those things that we knew aren't exactly the right thing for where we're at now. So we adjust. And I think that's the important thing is always adjusting to what your consumer needs, what your consumer wants. So.
One of the things is that what we would have said to Bridget right now is, Bridget, you don't have to be a marketing wizard. You don't have to be a fundraiser. You don't have to be you don't have to be a landscape architect. You don't have to be any of those things. Covered. You do that rock star business that's making those robots do that thing. You do that, and we, as a community, are going to figure out how to get you everything else that your heart desires and our heart desires, because there are ways to do that. But let's figure out a way to blow that out of the water, because everybody in the capability of making almost any dream that we collectively have in this room happen. We do. So we need to galvanize enough people so that we can get you covered on all the other stuff that you want. We called it our sizzle package.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to what Bridget said from the parents' perspective, adjusting to the consumer's needs. And we found that very readily from the start. When we came in here, it was apparent, education is really important to our families and we want the best for our kids. And in my opinion, education is a partnership, right? I mean, you send your kid to a school and expect them to learn everything with just their teachers, you're going to fail. It's going to fail. And so we're going to be heavily involved in our kids' education wherever we go. And what was apparent to us from the start was that at Congress, from Bridget down to the teachers to the rest of the staff, I mean, they're here for you, for your kids and for you, and they're willing to listen to you and partner with you. I'm looking at Ms. Vogt. For the benefit of your kids. And part of it is just the advantage that Congress has is that it's a fairly small school still. And so the teacher to student ratio is really good, and we want to keep it that way. So we just felt really welcomed here and are happy to be part of the fight.
I want to speak a little about, so I have, just for anybody who doesn't know me, I have children, but they are not of school age. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I'm involved with Congress since they were born. And one of the things that I love about the idea of a neighborhood school and the practice of a neighborhood school is that my children are comfortable in this building already. They haven't gone to school, but they know their way around the building. When I come here for a meeting, we see our mail lady, Sue, and we say, "Hi, Sue. We see you at home." When we come a meeting, like one time, my mom and I came for a meeting with Bridget and Ken Klump-Herrens, who works for the facilities, and it became clear pretty soon that a 2.5-year-old did not belong in the meeting. And I said, "You know what? Their babysitter, Mariah, is coaching girls on the run in the library. Let's go check it out." And I love that all my worlds are coming together in the same place. That is something that is so exciting for me, and I look forward to, and I get to talk to all these people, and I just feel like everybody can make their own choice about school, and I know there are so many things that go into the choice about school, but I have met so many awesome people just talking about Congress constantly, because everybody cares about their kids, everybody cares about school, and just talking to people, getting to know people. I think there's so many families in our neighborhood, and we can all meet here too. This is a great place.
I want to just piggyback on what Elizabeth said about meeting people and things like that. So Chris from Brewery Vivant, I do want you to raise your hand for a quick second, because she did give you a great idea. You know, let's see if we can name something Congress, right? No, I'm joking about that, but she was reading a book that was very pertinent to her child, and she gave me the title, and it seemed extremely interesting to me, and especially interesting from the realm of some of the kids that, as she was talking about the book, their faces were popping up in my brain. You know, oh, that kind of sounds like so-and-so, or so-and-so, and so-and-so. And that connection would have never been made had we not had many of the partnerships that we have today. So it's just that when they say it takes a village, Rachel sent that in an email the other day, and it's so true. If we all partner together and have that one goal in mind of creating the very best school in the very best of 4 catchment areas, neighborhoods, why can't we do it, right?
Different people, you know, have different things of what they want from school, but this idea of community and what that means is actually really profound. What your kid does, it's more than actually just learning to read and stuff. I'll just give you one example. One of our moms, Carol, came down with cancer, and aside from having a parties so that all of us 15 moms could come over and feel her boobs, so we would feel what a lump felt like, which was a very generous and kind thing for her to do, which I can't imagine a bunch of men doing, but with testicular cancer. Wow, that made you shift.
Anyway.
Sorry. No, I just think it was an amazing thing for a woman to do, to say, listen, this is my one opportunity for you. All right, in any case, that mom, Carol, did not make dinner for herself for a year. Every single day, a mom came and gave their kid dinner, and their kid put dinner in the community kitchen refrigerator and brought home dinner to Carol for a year. A different mom at school made Carol dinner. And I don't know where that kind of stuff happens outside of small synagogues and churches and stuff like that, but it happened in the world that we built. And we had a little symbol, which I will share. It went like this. Was, oh, look at the, and now we get to live in it.
So, does anybody have any questions? Susie?
Susan was at the end of her career, not at the beginning. So Susan took a very Mae West attitude to the whole thing. So Susan sort of felt like, that the beast says no. That's all they know how to do. So you don't engage the beast if you can help it. So we didn't. We flew very low to the radar. And Susan had the attitude of sort of, I don't need to know about that. Look, the drinking fountain is broken, and wow, overnight the drinking fountain is fixed. I wonder how that happened. Life is mysterious. The universe is kind. We didn't go and ask the district if we could fix the drinking fountain because the district would have said, we can't, or they can't, or it's on a list, or whatever. We didn't ask. We didn't ask, and we didn't care. The only thing we ever asked, we asked for one thing. We wanted to become a community school. Inaugural schools, we wanted to be one of them. Community schools were not intended for schools like us, and that was fine. And we pushed with every fiber of our being because we felt like that would be the only time we engaged. That said, if they monkeyed around with us, we would have chained ourselves to the fence and done whatever we were supposed to do. Part of that is entitlement. We get a criticism like that's entitlement, like what a bunch of entitled little mommies. We were entitled. We were entitled in the sense that we believed the system was supposed to work for us. We believed that the school was supposed to deliver and that we were supposed to have a drinking fountain that worked. And when people said no, we only heard not yet. Like, don't enter through the front door, come through the side door, come when nobody's looking. So yes, trucks came in the middle of the night and delivered stuff, and I don't really particularly care.
And I want to say, I'm not Mae West or Mae West-ish most of the time. However, we are extremely fortunate here. We don't face some of those battles. Grand Rapids Public Schools, the school board, superintendent, executive staff are so 100% behind us, behind the model of this neighborhood school, about the reclamation part. It's part of our transformation plan for the district, so we're extremely fortunate in that aspect because it just makes it more difficult if I have to come in the middle of the night and unload trucks and stuff. It's just a lot harder that way. So we are very fortunate. Once in a while, do we get a no? Sure, everybody has to say no once in a while because of liability or safety or whatever, but guess what? More often than not, we get a yes. And on the things that are truly, truly important to our kids, the staff, and the parents, we get yes. I would be remiss if I said it any other way because we really, I think anybody here who's been a part of the planning process and kind of the movement that we've had here would say, by and large, we have full support of, like I say, the executive staff, the superintendent, and the school board. So we are very, very fortunate. And I'm not even going to say a few steps ahead, just some of those obstacles we haven't had to face.
High-level sport is different than like the bureaucrats down who are basically the ones approving water fountain's going to get fixed. So we certainly, I would be equally remiss if I didn't say that the powers that be didn't want us to succeed and wouldn't have tried really hard for us.
Sure.
So they were.
Yeah. I saw another hand. Brandy. So in case people didn't hear Brandy's question, she wants to know a couple best practices about engagement, and how to make that occur, and then wants Liz to speak about it on a local level as well. And I'll say it's 7:20 now, or 7:21, so we'll probably not take any more questions to the panel after this. But what we'll do is definitely be open to discussing, one-on-one with you or whatever else. And then we'll also announce, we have some books, Jackie's books over here, and I think she's happy to sign them, should anybody want that. So we'll get those out as well. But if you two would like to speak to that, I think it'd be great.
Best practices for engagement. Well, funny you should ask that because I have an engagement platform. It's true. At 1871, where I have a digital engagement platform, because engagement actually is the only. It's the only game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to look like what we made. It may take longer. Engagement is the only thing that matters. Period. End of story. So how you bring people in, your situation is different than mine. We had a very disenfranchised and toxic environment that we were walking into. So we had a lot of race issues, a lot of class issues. We had a lot of delicate stuff to deal with that got kind of ugly in a lot of appropriate and inappropriate ways. Because there are real issues, right? From what I understand, that is not the situation here, in that you have a parent body here right now that is engaged and interested and doing great things. So it's a very different situation than what we had. So engaging the neighborhood outside of these walls is really important. Most schools don't do that because they're so busy looking down. They don't think about what the outside world could bring them. And I guess what I would encourage you to do is look, there's two people we're trying to engage. You're trying to engage a middle class that has little kids that might invest with their children. That's part one. But the net you're actually trying to cast is much wider than that. The circle around that has to, for this school to succeed in the way everybody wants, is bigger than people who just have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and toddlers. That circle is the businesses and the people who have property and all of it. That's a big, big circle. So exactly what Elizabeth is doing, the biggest thing, have Congress on the brain all the time. Talk about it all the time like a lunatic. Get the word out on m13graphics.com for $200, which you won't have to pay for because a realtor will do it. We'll buy you 5,000 postcards. There should be postcards littering this neighborhood. Well, not littering because that'd be bad, but everywhere, all the time. So that it's got to become the sizzle and the crackle and the do-do-do-do-do. You got to create a thing. But it sounds like you're well on your way to doing that. Aren't you the local crazy person?
Oh, yeah. I want to publicly thank all my friends who put up with me. I think, and to speak to what Brandy was saying, I want to thank all the people who are sitting, by the way, at the blue table over there, who are part of the East Hills Loves Congress Committee. If Rachel Lee, could you raise your hand real quick? This is the East Hills neighborhood organizer, but Mariah, Brandy, and Tracy have all been, and also I have to give Shirley Monty a shout out, also very faithful members of our East Hills Loves Congress Committee that has been meeting for a while. I'm sorry? Oh, and Shirley comes to Zumba on Thursday nights, I was told to say. But in terms of engagement, I have to echo, it would be great if everybody who's interested just talk, and you're still making your decisions about school, but whether you have kids or not, talk to people, say this is interesting. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be sending out some engagement to everybody who put their email down on the sign-up sheet today. And there's going to be some volunteer opportunities. There's going to be coming up some, what are we calling these things, John, at people's houses? Or John? House parties. There's going to be some house parties. We'll send out the opportunity if you want to come to a house party, a smaller gathering, and talk to people about Congress in a more intimate setting. There's going to be some opportunities coming up for that. We have, the last Thursday of every month, we've been doing what we're calling Coffee at Congress. From 10 to 11 a.m. in the school library. Bring your kids, hang out. There's a lot of really cool people who come, and we sometimes talk about Congress, and sometimes we talk about other things. So it's a lot of fun. And the kids will have storytelling there, so you don't even have to think about your kids. And I make coffee really, really strong, so you don't have to worry. And then Oh, yeah. So if you want to get more involved in East Hills Loves Congress, our meetings are the second Monday of the month at 5:30 p.m. in the East Hills office in Cherry Park. It's the little pink building in Cherry Park. But you don't have to remember any of this right now, because in 2 weeks you're going to be getting an email that says all of it. So we'll give you the opportunity. Do you have anything additional to say, Dustin?
Yeah, I'll say this, that I've been getting things in the mail about Congress recently. But as a reporter, I would say that there is information that is being gathered about this school that I think would help sell this school that hasn't necessarily been disseminated. One of the biggest surprises, I had all the information I needed on the first day here to tell the story of how this school has succeeded. And I didn't just see it in the way that the teachers love their students. The data is there. And if one of the things I got in the mail, finally Congress is talking about its success on the MAP test. The MEP score doesn't really give you a full picture, but Congress led the city 2 years ago in MAP score growth year over year, and was one of the highest scoring in the recent year. But and I should also say another really insidious rumor that people will talk about Congress is that there is a perception, particularly among the white middle-class parent, the sort of latte drinking Swedish baby Swedish toys, Scandinavian toy owning parent, that Congress is not a safe school. And first, if anyone says that, you should ask them what assumptions they're working with on that. And second, Congress does have data on that. And Bridget showed me a chart on the very first day that showed data and how it's gone down year over year over year since she's been here. And so if you're talking about engagement, I think people are going to respond in a certain way if you tell them that their teachers really love the kids and there's a great community school here. But also real hard data points would be helpful as well. And Congress has those, and that absolutely, I think, helps with convincing people that this is the place to be.
We realized that the school wasn't necessarily the best voice of those things, in the sense that they couldn't articulate those kinds of things in the lingua franca that to a middle-class parent, which wasn't necessarily their fault. It's just kind of the people, Nelher's Not So Junky Look Again wasn't really going to work as a marketing campaign. So we had outside experts come in from universities at Erickson and Loyola and Northwestern and UChicago. You come in, we had people sit there, figure it out. They were the ones to telegraph the story of the academic excellence. The state of curriculum pretty well locked up. They're doing the same stuff, but let experts tell the story, because they already come with all of this credibility. And then when they say, no, actually their schools are this, and this is what it means, and this is what these teachers, this is what it means, then they already have that halo effect and that credibility that really goes a long way. I just want to say about perceptions, though, that skittishness is reasonable. It is totally reasonable that someone would say, hey, what are my peers doing? I'm a parent, what do I know? All I can do, I'm going to the same dance classes because this is what somebody's recommended. I'm hiring the same babysitters because this is what people recommend. So all I can do is sort of look around with my 3-year-old and say, well, what's appropriate at this moment? So it is a really hard thing to do, but there's strategies and it's strategic, and it can be done. It is doable stuff, but it does take really thoughtful work to figure out which fires do we need to put out and how are we going to sell this and really roll it out.
Yeah, I guess to jump over that comment and return a little bit to what Dustin was saying, and what was said over at the East Hills Loves Congress table over there. East Hills, the work that's been put into it by Liz and the committee is hugely important, but I think it's also important that Congress's catchment area is, I haven't heard Midtown mentioned yet, which is where I live, and that's where the majority of kids come from here. And so something that I think falls on myself and Dustin, you too, and people from Easttown. I see a lot of people I know from Easttown here. All of those neighborhoods represent a different diversity, and I think not just racial and socioeconomic diversity, but different businesses, well. So I think it's important that we build upon what East Hills has started in the other neighborhoods as well.
So this concludes the panel discussion. Thanks so much for being here. Oh, hold on, Rosa, one more quick thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to say this. Rosa works here at Congress, and we tap her all the time for not only her help, but she's been here longer than I have even. So truly knows all of the families and knows generations of the families as well. So very important to have kind of that pillar who has all this extra knowledge that you wouldn't know walking in as a new administrator like I was 5 years ago, or a new staff member. And she's absolutely right. We do have a large Hispanic community, and it is important that they're engaged. And the parents that you see here tonight, many are from that community. So are you asking about more so what East Hills and that is doing? Okay.
Thank you at 47. And Rosa, I can't wait to talk to you, because part of it is reaching out. I know that Emily has tried to talk to other kindergarten moms, but there is just a divide. We're trying to have a translator at the coffees, but it's just getting people to feel like we want people to come to the coffees. We want that community to be everybody. And so I can't wait to talk to you. I'm going to make a beeline for you as soon as we're done talking here, because I want that in. Awesome.
And the great thing about it is we have had that conversation. So we truly, because that's what I said, is we have lots and lots of parents that are more than willing. We just need to know how to engage them, and at a time that's convenient for them as well. So Maria, you're going to have to catch us after. I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to catch us after, because we are at 7:35 and I want to honor people's time. So if you would like a plate to go, please feel free, because we have lots of food. Again, the books, I'm sure I'm volunteering Jackie to sign for you, but we thank you so much for being here, for making this a priority in your short visit, because it was very, very helpful and very, very, very much the push that we need to take it to the next step. So thank you very much, and thank you to all of you.